Hey everybody, Derek here to bring you another video for The Walking Dead Season 5. And we are almost 1 month away from the upcoming Walking Dead Season 5 Part 2, the spring part of Walking Dead. Getting excited. I always look forward to Walking Dead. Definitely we have a lot of things to look forward to. And in today's video, one of the things that I was going to do was address how I think Glenn and Maggie's relationship and storyline will be in this upcoming second half of season 5. I figured, some of the characters are definitely going to have some very big storylines coming up in the, Walking Dead season 5 part 2. Characters that we may not have focused on as much, I think, are now going to get a little bit more time. And I think that Glenn and Maggie, in many ways, are going to be focused on a little bit more, and I just wanted to give my thoughts on how I think their storyline is going to be next season. Just in case you're not caught up, there may be spoilers. I'll be referencing some things from the comics. So if you're not caught up, do not watch the video or you might be spoiled. Okay. So as you know, right now we are left off with Beth is dead, and basically Maggie has lost her entire family. I mean, Glenn is her husband, yes, but if we're talking about, her blood, her family, her kin, they are gone. She has lost everybody that she has known, except for Glenn. And, that's something that's going to hit Maggie very hard, in this upcoming season, because one of the things that you see about Maggie is that she's a very family oriented person. I think that other people, you know, yes, were they sad that their relatives were dead? Whenever the Walking Dead zombie apocalypse occurred, well, sure, no doubt about it. But they've had time to move on, and they've had time to focus their efforts on other methods of survival, and they pretty much cope with the fact that their relatives are gone. But it's definitely different when your relatives are alive and fighting next to you to help, stay alive. And Maggie's lost that support system, and I think that's definitely going to hit her this season. And what is it going to do to Glenn and Maggie's relationship? Well, I think definitely a lot of things. But the first thing I think is that, in regards to death predictions, I think that it pretty much secures that Glenn is safe for the rest of season 5. I think if they killed off Glenn in this second half of the season, Maggie would never recover from it. I mean, I cannot see a situation where, after losing your father, your sister, and then your husband all within the course of a few weeks to a month, it's just not going to be good. And I think that at this point, they have storylines that they can focus on with Glenn and Maggie right now that I think that it's best to keep them alive. So I think we're going to see them alive throughout the later half of season 5. And I've talked about how I think that Maggie is going to be handling this, and I don't think that she's going to be handling it well. I mean, that's just to be expected. But the comics definitely provide a very severe story for her in regards to how she basically deals with it. And I think that it was worse because in the comics they go to Herschel's farm. They go back to the farm. Because in the comics, the farm was not overrun. Rick's group left because of everything that happened. And when they find the prison, they go back and invite Herschel and his family to come back. Because Herschel, wasn't a bad guy. Rick could kind of understand his perspective. So they went back to the farm after the prison was destroyed, and it was very hard, for Maggie to be there because see, Maggie's father and she has a brother in the comics stayed behind at the prison to defend it. So Maggie didn't know if they were alive or not, but whenever Rick confirmed that they were dead, that's when she knew. And she's definitely pretty silent, for the most part. Also, kind of has like a what I call like a stone face. Really didn't have, yeah, she cried about it at first, but whenever Glenn went back in and they were packing things up to leave, Maggie kind of says, she's like, "Good, I don't ever want to come back to this place again." Kind of like leaving that part of her behind because she just doesn't want to remember her family because it hurts too much. So you definitely see that Maggie, is dealing with a lot. And I think that that's going to be the case in season 5. I think that Maggie is definitely, there's a lot of this, comic storylines that they can follow. And just like I said in my video, I think that it would be very interesting to see Maggie go through that breakdown and perhaps attempt to commit suicide. Suicide has been something that The Walking Dead really, focuses on at times, but we go for a long time without really addressing that issue. I mean, really, Andrea, contemplated it. Jackie, if you want to say, I think she technically committed suicide. She didn't go with the group when she could have. Jenner did the same thing. And you see along the way, characters making different choices about whether they want to live or whether they want to die. You have Clara in season 4 who, killed herself at the beginning of the season, and every character has to make that decision. And I think that maybe in some ways, the grief just gets too much for Maggie. And I was thinking, maybe there's going to be a part where Glenn and Maggie get into a fight, and that might be what propels her to do that, because you see that the relationship between them is very, strong. I mean, we've seen that, it stood a lot in the Walking Dead world. And what I was thinking about was maybe in the comics, how it kind of was sudden. Maggie almost seemed like she was okay, and then, that happened. They may do that, but I think that maybe there might be something else that will help to, not help, but set off the chain of events that may cause Maggie to attempt to commit suicide, just like she did in the comics. And as much as it's sad to see what happens to her in the comics, I think that nonetheless, if you're looking at storyline, if you're looking at a change in the character, that is the way to go. Basically, whenever she realizes that, she basically tries to hang herself, they're able to save her in time, and she believes that, she was dead, and they brought her back, and that there is no God, and that there is no heaven, that there is no this. Well, she had lost her faith in the comics earlier, whenever they were at the prison. She actually tells her father that while they were killing walkers when they were training for the governor. So Maggie lost her religion earlier in the comics versus the TV show, where I still think that even to this point, she's still holding on to those Christian beliefs. But one of the things that you see about Maggie, which is kind of, ironic, because you would think that, and it depends on the person, I'm not judging here, and I'm not, imposing beliefs on anybody, but sometimes, religion is something that can help a person, whereas in Maggie's case, it seems like losing her, belief in God actually helps her and makes her want to live. It's something that makes her change as a character. And you see, when she comes out of it, she, basically tells Glenn, she's like, Glenn, my dad was wrong, and all this. And it makes her want to survive. So I think that what we're going to see is, you know, Glenn basically, is going to try to be there for Maggie, but Maggie's not going to want his help. And I think that that's something that's going to frustrate Glenn. Oh, excuse me. That's going to definitely be frustrating. I mean, I think that grief is definitely a frustrating thing in general. You know, you want to try to help the person in the way that you think is going to help them, but only the person themselves really knows what's going to help. And everybody deals with grief differently. There's some people that, they need to go and punch a punching bag, or there's some people that need to, go sit in a room alone and cry, and there are some people that need that shoulder to cry on. And there are so many other ways that people grieve, and when they grieve at different times. And I think that in a zombie apocalypse, it's kind of hard to do that, especially when you have all these other threats going on around you. And I think that's just going to make the situation worse. And I think that Glenn is definitely going to be mourning with Maggie, but I think that it's going to be, something that he wants to help her move on, and maybe she's not letting him help her, or everything that he does doesn't work, and he gets frustrated by it. Because grief can be a frustrating process. People grieve at different points. There are some people who grieve a loss for a few days, and then they get right back up and they get to work, or whatever the case may be. Every person is different. And I think that just being in a zombie apocalypse is going to create new and unique circumstances that Glenn and Maggie really even themselves don't know how to deal with. How are we going to, move past this? And I think that you're going to see that their relationship is going to take a downhill, turn. It's basically not going to be strong um, for the first couple episodes. I think that's my prediction. I may be wrong. They may be as strong as ever. But one of the things that you see even in the comics is that Maggie and Glenn kind of drift apart. They're still together, but Glenn's frustrated about like there's no intimacy between them anymore. And Glenn enjoyed the intimacy. And I mean, Maggie did too. And I mean, and it's not just the making love aspect. I think that it was just trying to find something that was normal in this world. And I mean, marriage is something that can definitely, even in today's world, help you get through so much. And to have it in even the zombie apocalypse and to know that you have a wife or a husband or somebody that will be there for you, even in these very hard times, can be something that is very valuable. You can't put a price on that. And I think that Glenn is going to be feeling that loss maybe, and that's going to frustrate him and maybe make him act out. And I think we might see, them get into a fight. Because as I predicted in one of my videos, I think that there will be a time jump. That I think that after they leave Grady Memorial, that they're going to travel to Virginia to Noah's compound, like the place that Noah and his uncle were from, the Walden community. I think that's where they're going. And I think that there's going to be, a couple weeks, maybe a month at most, but I would doubt it. I would say no more than a few weeks of time in between. That's my prediction as well, that Maggie's been dealing with this and Glenn's been trying to help her deal with it, and we're going to see what their relationship is like. Because you saw, like, even with Rick and Lori, like when the time jump kind of showed even how they were, you didn't really know until you saw it what was going on, but nonetheless you knew that like over the last like 8 months they had no communication or barely any. And I think that you might even see that if they do a time jump, where Maggie is, behaving in a way that, either may be normal, I mean, normal, but you get what I'm saying, where she may seem like she's okay on the outside, but, at other times she may be suffering, where she's still not over that, and Glenn may be frustrated by that. And that's the thing. I mean, as I said, grief is a very frustrating process. But I think that you're going to see them go through like that process. I think that they may get into a fight or two that we might see, which may cause Maggie to, try to commit suicide, or it just might be sudden like it is in the comics. And then Glenn's dealing with the fallout, and is trying to piece his marriage back together. And I think that it's going to be very interesting to see. But I think that they are going to look at the comics for a lot of reference. And I think that Maggie most likely, I mean, I don't want to say fortunately or unfortunately because I don't, like I said, I don't judge and I don't want to, impose beliefs on people. But I think that she will, perhaps lose her Christian beliefs in the TV show, which will basically, help her become more willing to live because she says, this is all we have, Glenn, and I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose you. And I realize that, and I think that that might be something that they look towards in the comics and the TV show that will help strengthen Glenn and Maggie's relationship back together, and that they can perhaps, continue to grow and, repair what has happened. And, maybe by the time we get to the end of season 5 to the beginning of season 6, they may, be dealing with more issues. I mean, it's hard to say, but I know that we're going to see a very big rough patch with their relationship. And I think that that's, what I've predicted is going to happen. And it's just going to be, interesting to see how long it takes for them to possibly return to a more, season 2, season 3, even season 4 passionate relationship. We may never get that back. It takes Maggie a while to even, warm back up to the idea of intimacy in the comics. And I think that, it's going to be hard to focus a lot on that in the TV show. And, even in the comics, they kind of, don't mention it except for at a few points. But you know that near the end, of the way that their relationship was going, they were happy. I think as they got near, the end of the story with the comics. So I'm definitely very interested to see what they have in store. But those are my predictions for that video. So I'm going to bring this video to a close, and I want to thank everybody for watching. If you guys have any questions or comments, don't be afraid to leave them. Feel free to subscribe. I have more videos coming. And if you have any video topics that you would like to suggest, please do not be afraid to do so. I am very welcome to take any suggestion. I'm trying to space the videos out a little bit so that way I do have some things to talk about. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what they have in store for us. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.